All right, so one of the things we forgot to do is edit our configuration file. Now we'll go to public HTML. We're using CD, which is change directory. I can see in what directory I'm in right now. It's home, WarrenTech, public_HTML. Here's all the files in here. Remember on WordPress we had a configuration file, sample-conf.wp-config.php or something like that. And that was right up there in the top directory. Here it's hidden just a little bit. We need to cd into sites. We'll list this real quick. In fact, we're going to do no, we're going to do that over in FileZilla to make it a little easier later on here. And we'll cd into default ls. So right now, just to remind you, we're in home, WarrenTech, public HTML sites default. And if we do a listing, there's one file in here, default.settings.php. We're going to move that from default.settings.php to settings.php. All we're doing is taking the default off the name. And then we're going to use an editor. There's lots of editors on these that are built in. We're going to use a basic text editor called Pico that was created at my alma mater, University of Washington, for settings.php. And we're just going to change, oops, I must have mistyped that. Hold on. It should be settings, but I changed it to setting. That was a mistake. Move setting.php to settings.php, and then we can Pico settings.php. All right, so here's the file we need to edit. You'll see that this is all comments telling me about what kinds of things I need to do to fix it. There's only one line here that we need to fix, which is the one where it tells it where to find the database. And so there's some things just we need to swap out. We need to swap out the username. It's not username. It is WarrenTech_WordPress. Remember, we did this way back when. It's the same username and password we used then. We can use localhost. If you're on DreamHost, you need to put in the real host name, which is going to be for you guys mysql2.quicm.net in most cases. But we can use localhost, and then we need the name of the database, which is WarrenTech WordPress. All right. Now, if I wanted to do a WordPress install and a Drupal install, I could put in a prefix here. Remember, we were using WP_ for our prefix for the tables for WordPress. I could use a prefix here like Drupal_ just so that I could use the same database for lots and lots of different things. For now, it's the only thing in the database, so I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm going to hit Control X right here for exit. It's going to say, do I want to save this stuff? I'm going to say yes, and I want to save it as settings.php. All right, now all I have to do is log out. Now, in fact, I'm going to just I'm not going to get out of here because I'm going to need to come back here in a minute. I know there's a problem that we're going to have to deal with. So for now, I'm going to just go to warrentech.com/install.php. It asks me what language I want to install in. I'm going to do it in English. It says we have a problem here that this section doesn't exist. And the problem is that we need to try again. And what we're going to do when we try again, before we try again, is change the permissions. So anytime you can go through these, and if we go to sites, we can do click on that, and we can do a right click on a PC and file permissions. And we want it to go down and do file permissions all the way down. And for now, we're going to change them to 777. That means anyone can read, write, or execute any file. Wide open permissions. That's not quite as scary as it sounds, because you really do need to be logged in to do any of this, but it's generally a little less secure when you do that. So you try to avoid that, but for the installation period, we can change it over. Okay, let's see if that fixed our problem. It did, hopefully. So now it says, okay, I've made the changes here, and now it's a smart idea that it says to go back and change it back so that it's so that the file permissions are not writable. So I'll go ahead and change those back, and now that's a little bit more secure. Actually, I probably ought to make them non-readable too, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right. So now it needs to know what the name of the site is, warntech.com. Oh no, we don't need .com, that's just the name. My email address, I'll just use my regular email address for this. My username, this is not going to be the username I use every day, but the super username. And so I'm going to use King of the World, and my email address, and then my password. I would usually use a much more secure password, but for now I'm just going to use one that I know. I want to enable clean URLs. What that means is, if you look up here at the URL right now, it says ? locale, yada yada yada. That's a pretty common thing for for Common Gateway Interface, for CGI, for web applications to use. The problem is, A, it's ugly for humans to look at, and B, it's actually bad for search engine optimization. So, for example, Google recommends you get rid of those because it won't track them properly. So we definitely want to get rid of those. So to get rid of those, we need to enable our clean URLs. We want to check for updates automatically. Let's hope this goes through. Yay, we're done. So I can visit my new site, which is at warntech.com. However, you'll see it's not quite as fancy as we'd expect at all. We need to go to, we need to set it up. It's a very bare bones installation, and just to give you an idea of what you get set up with here is if you ever bought the very base level of Legos, you get that green base plate. So it comes with that, but it also comes with some modules. Like it came with the English module. If we'd wanted to install in another language, we'd just have gone and gotten a language pack and installed those modules instead. So it comes with a basic set of modules. If we go to Administer, which is what it suggests, and we go to Modules, you'll see it lists a bunch of modules that it comes with and has installed. Now these are not just kind of, and so it has things like a poll module. If you wanted to do polls on your site, that's something that's so common and so many people want to have that they just include the module with it. But it also has things like menus. Of course you want menus on your site. Of course you probably want a taxonomy on your site. And then there's some very basic level, these are the core optional ones, but there's some very required core ones like block, filter, node, system user that you've just got to have, but they're still modules. They're still in there as modules. So it's a very module, it's very much like Legos. There's lots of things that you kind of can plug in various ways. And so we're going to talk about some of these modules and themes and how to build this out. But when you start, there's nothing there. You've got to tell it a little bit more about what you want to do, because this is kind of unlike a blogging system where it knows you're going to have a blog. Even if it's a very basic blog, it can give you that outline. Drupal can be any site. And so it starts you out with nothing. You've really got to say what you want the site to be. And so that's what we're going to do in the coming lessons in this module. All right, thanks.